Welcome to another exciting episode of Real Estate Matters. I am your host, Doreen Morris, and Realtor, Century 21 Evo Properties. I have invited Danique Smikle, Assistant Manager, Business Relationships, JN Bank. Today we'll be talking about getting pre-approval. Danique, welcome to Real Estate Matters. How are you?
I am well, and thank you, Doreen, for the opportunity. It's a pleasure being here with you and Century 21, our valued realtor partners. JN takes this as a very premium opportunity to be here with you.
You are welcome, Danique. I really do appreciate it.
Yes.
You know, Danique, we want to talk about getting pre-approved.
Yes.
Many a times our potential buyers would call us and they would say that they see a property, whether for 20 million, 10 million, 50 million dollars, and they want to view the property.
Yes.
So we as the realtors will say to them, you know, there is a preliminary process that you have to go through.
Yes.
So we'll do our interviews. How are you planning on purchasing? Is it cash? Who are you pre-approved with? And many of the time they say that they want to find the house first.
Yes.
Before they go to NHT and or let's use Jamaica National for example, or any other financial institution. And we are saying to them, no, we need to know what we are working with to find that property for you.
And we agree.
And this is where you come in now to, you know, to just give our audience an insight of this whole pre-approval. What does pre-approval mean, Danique?
Well, pre-approval, what it is an assessment of a borrower's ability to repay. Right. So it looks at income verification as against your assets and liabilities, and we also take into consideration your current credit history. So what we do is to pretty much look at those factors to see how much you'll be eligible for at the maximum loan amount to qualify for a mortgage. Pre-approval is a very formalized process, and some persons sometimes get it confused with pre-qualification, and I just want to make the distinction.
Right.
A pre-qualification is the process of just assessment, looking at the numbers, running the numbers pretty much to see where you are. Right. So we would just pretty much through a conversation indicate how much based on the information you've provided, how much you would possibly be eligible to obtain. It's not formal.
Right. So we could work with that until the pre-approval letter comes into play.
Well, I endorse waiting until the pre-approval.
Okay.
Because pre-approval gives you confidence that the institution has reviewed the documentation required and would have given their stamp of approval in somewhat a conditional approval to say that this is what you'll be eligible to obtain and under what terms and conditions. So at that point you'll be more confident in terms of starting to show that property and be able to even confidently assure the vendor who is selling the property that this customer can make that offer. So we do endorse the pre-approval.
So why is it important to get pre-approval?
Right, so pre-approval it gives you peace of mind, first of all. It allows you to understand where you are, you're in your stage, in your home ownership stage.
Right.
It allows you to know that confidently a financial institution is willing to make you an offer or willing to take you through that process of owning your home. So it gives you confidence and peace of mind. But it also gives you, the realtor, the assurance that that customer can obtain financing.
Yes.
And that's critical, so that you don't, waste your energies as it might be showing properties that may not be fit for that
person. Right. So maybe they're showing somebody a 20 million property when they are only qualified for 12 million.
Exactly.
Or pre-approved for 12 million.
And critical to a pre-approval is looking at the person's eligibility as well for National Housing Trust, because that is critical to the process. Persons who are contributors, we will take that consideration of looking at how much they're eligible for with the trust, and we would roll that into the calculations to see over time, along with those NHD calculations or contributions, how much additional support you'll be able to get from the bank or your lender, and how much that will work out to be in terms of your repayments. So we take NHT contributions into account, and we give an overall assessment of how much that contributor will be eligible for.
Okay, alright, so having said all of that, Danique, just take us through the various stages, including that same NHT, the financing from NHT, so the various stages of the mortgage process.
Pretty much. We have a collaboration with the NHT. So pretty much what the customer is required to do is to just complete a few documentation, and they would make those submissions to JN Bank. So they are not required to go.
So they don't have to go to NHT at all.
No. We have a partnership with the NHT.
Okay,
so
awesome.
we pretty much manage that process.
Right.
And it's pretty much streamlined so that we can get all their details from NHT. So we manage that process. So once we have gotten that confirmation from NHT in terms of the amount they're eligible for and the applicable interest rate, then we'll be able to address and create that pre-approval letter. Now, once that customer has been pre-approved, that is where we start now engaging the realtors, and that's where you will come in, because that pre-approval letter pretty much is able to guide your property search with that customer. So that's the next step. Once pre-approved, we move to the property search, and that's where the realtors come in. And once that realtor has found that property, then we take the process back to the lending institution.
After that offer is accepted.
After that offer is accepted. There is a guided checklist which we would have given that customer to say that these are the documents required to take you to the next step. And those documents would have been more on the security, the property itself. So items such as a valuation report, a surveyor's report, a sales agreement, you'd have been required to make your deposit, and so on. Those things you would be required to satisfy as a customer. And then you would engage your lending institution so that we can start the application now. And that's the application. So once we have applied for the mortgage, then the next step is to get a loan decision. So that's where it's reviewed by a committee or a set of reviewers to decide on whether your loan has been approved for a decision, So after you have pretty much applied, then you await a loan decision. That is where the reviewers will look at your application, look at the collateral, that is the property itself, look at your income, and so on, and decide whether or not the institution will be agreeing to give you a loan decision or give you a loan. So that will be an approval decision. So once we now have approval, then we move to another stage where you get a letter of commitment, which is basically or assurance to you that we have engaged you and that we are comfortable with offering you that mortgage. And also you will obtain an offer of finance, which pretty much gives you the terms and conditions of the mortgage. It goes through with the details, how much you'll be paying, how much is your rate, how long, and those things. And you will actually sign to that offer of approval, that offer of financing. And once you have signed that offer of financing, then that's where it gets into the legal process. It goes through the stamp office and the title. The mortgage is registered on the title. And once that is done, then the big thing, the disbursement. So you are now a home owner,
and that's what I want for everybody. Yes, that is what I want for everybody. And it's the reason why I'm inviting all the experts in the different areas to come on the show to educate my potential buyers.
I just want to say that JN Bank has made it very standard and easy for customers to engage and to have that process
seamless.
Yes, not just seamless. We're the fastest.
And the fastest.
Because we believe that once you've made that application, within 30 days, within our DYM Express, which is our current offering, we believe that within 30 days you should be able to move into your home. And that's something that has been working, and we stand strong and we're confident that we can get you into your home within 30 days.
Yes. Awesome. Danique, there must be some fees and costs. As realtors, we always ask them for the 5% deposit minimum. But there is a closing costs and other fees. Can you just walk us through the fees and costs associated in purchasing? including the closing costs.
Yes, yes. So there are some costs that the homeowner would be required to have out of their own pocket, of course.
Yes.
And of course, there are quite a few options available at Jane Bank. If it is that you are qualified for additional funding, then there are other facilities that we can look at in terms of assisting you in getting those fees. But there's a cost that you share with a vendor.
Right.
That's a shared closing cost with a vendor, which covers some legal fees, right? And then there's the processing fees and attorney's fees, stamp duty, registration, and all those fees that you pay to your lender.
Right.
It's approximately 45% of the loan amount, right? So that is also something that you will have to consider. Now, say for example, we're looking at a couple
Right.
that are both NHD eligible. They are both contributors and I would be eligible for the maximum amount of financing from NHD. Say they were qualified for a loan amount of 25 million.
Right.
We're looking at the combined NHD being about 13 million.
Right.
And say those persons were able to get the maximum term eligible at Jane Bank, we go to 40 years. Then we'd possibly be looking at an approximated monthly payment. And this is principal and interest of about $132,000 per month.
Okay, we can see that.
The loan.
Yeah,
They can share that.
We can share that,
right.
Yes.
But of course, we'd also want to consider the other things that are important on the mortgage, which includes the peril insurance, which is the protection against any natural or so disaster that may apply and would affect the collateral, which is the property.
Right.
So there's also peril insurance and there's life insurance, which protects you, the person, in case that there is any death or accident that would affect your financing or would affect your ability to repay. So those two other factors would be added to your monthly payment.
Okay.
And so you would also have to factor those in. But the costs associated would include, just to summarize, your principal and interest payments, your peril and life insurance, and then there are the fees that would be associated which you obtain in the mortgage, which are the closing fees, which, as I said before, is between 4 to 5% of the loan amount.
Okay, great. Danique, what can cause delays in the approval process?
Okay. Standardly, usually once you're pre-approved, it is a good indication that you are on your way to obtaining that dream home or that property. But there might be changes in your current situation. There might be changes in your income. It might not be as sustainable as it was before. You may have lost your job. You may have gotten a reduction in your salary
due to the pandemic, which is happening now. Right.
And so that may affect our ability to be confident that we can lend you the amount that you would have previously been qualifying for. So changes in your income and the sustainability of your income can affect your qualification. Right? And just to say that it might delay the process if you are not able to show that you can maintain it, but it may also cause a negative decision. Denial, right? But also there might be instances where the collateral itself, the property itself, may not meet the requirement of the lender. There might be breaches on the property and encroachments,
structural
there might be structural damages and so on. There might be also the fact that the property itself is exposed to hazards, like it's near rivers or so on, right? And those would affect the bank's ability to determine, or the bank's ability to want to use that security, right? So the collateral itself may be questioned, and if those issues cannot be rectified, then the bank will not take that security. No. So that may cause delays and ultimately another decision.
Right. Are there any other tips from our audience, Danique?
Tips? Well, I just want to say that the industry now, the real estate industry is booming. I mean, there are lots of opportunities, not just to own your home, but also to invest.
Yes.
You can consider home ownership as an investment.
Yes.
I mean, and just to put it in context, it's one of the most stable forms of investment because property prices are actually appreciating. Right? Unlike other forms of investments that may depreciate. Assets, it's an appreciating asset.
Right.
So it's a great opportunity. But you have to plan.
Yes.
Certainly you would have to plan
I agree.
Whether you want to, is it something you're going to do in the short term or long term? And while you're planning, it's important that you save. It's important that you have a good savings plan.
Yes.
And of course, at Jane Bank, we offer a variety of options where we can assist you with making that possibility, so that you can actually have that to invest in your property. And while you're saving as well, you need to reduce your debt. Yeah, because that will put you in a better position to be able to pay your be good on your monthly obligations.
Right.
So, and whilst you have done that too, you want to consider that you select the right property that's for you.
Right.
Not everyone is going to want to be in an apartment. Some person's going to need a house and so on, or a townhouse. It's important that you select the right product for your needs as well. Yes. We have put some things in place which makes it convenient at Jane Bank for you to own a property. We have a mortgage product for everyone with our design your mortgage options. Different products for different persons, depending on your needs, depending on your salary, depending on your particular situation. We can design that mortgage for you.
Danique Smikle, Assistant Manager, Business Relationships, JN Bank. Thank you so much, Danique. That was a wealth of knowledge right there. And from this, everybody should be looking into themselves and say, yes, I should be calling a representative from Jane Bank, right? Just begin the process of owning a home.
And may I just add that Jane Bank has a YouTube channel, and there's a very important video that I want persons to go at and look at. It shows you how you can obtain that mortgage in 30 days or less. So you just go to the Jane Bank YouTube channel and put in home ownership in 30 days, and you'll see that and that video. Or you can visit our website, janebank.com/mortgages, and you'll get all this information. It's readily available. Okay.
All right, there we go. Thank you, Danique. We have come to the end of another episode of Real Estate Matters. I am your host, Doreen Morris, and Realtor from Century 21 Evo Property. Please feel free to leave your comments, direct message, or you can call me at 876-997-6570. Stay tuned for the next episode.